one that you've seen. Normally they don't send messages on that, but in an emergency they may have to, and it's got hasn't got a usual sort of generic keypad like on a phone or something like that. It's only got basically 4 buttons for the whole alphabet, and it's important that we know that the entrants are able to remember how to make those messages. So on the 1st and the 4th, they pull the tracker out of their pouch. We know where they're strapped down, and they send us a message to say they're okay. And then the rest of the time they're using SMS that goes to the managers. And if there's anything happening, the managers will pass that to us and we can tell you about it. So, but so far today, there's only 4 entrants that have sent their test message, but the day's not over, so that's fine. The other thing is we did a bit of a countdown because there will only be 1 day a week when there's a scheduled time and an absolute commitment to do a tracker update. What some people are saying is if I just come on live now, then you miss out. You don't get a chance to log on, or you might not see it straight away. So there'll be a 60-second countdown before we actually start, just to gauge it and give an opportunity for people to line up if they're interested. We will be continuing with the idea of commenting on Facebook comments. That if you've got a question or something that comes up, then hit that. And there'll be a bit of a footer at the end, so that countdown could change day to day. We might drop in a little video clip or something while it's happening, and then see where we go. So now, today's Charlie Day. Charlie Dallin knocked off the Vendée Globe, which you probably know about if you're a sailor. If you're not, it was a solo non-stop round the world race in Amokas, super fast, and he's done it in 64 days, 19 hours, 22 minutes, and 49 seconds. Which is pretty quick. And it's kind of ironic because I put a post up on GGR and said that it's very spectacular, which it is, that's the best of the best. He's an elite sportsman, got a lot of talent, a lot of experience. He sails by numbers, we know, we've read all about him, and everything is systemised on the boat. He's got a massive support team, and it's really amazing to watch what they do and what they achieve. And it's exciting, and it's blah, 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 just like the GGR and the mini globe race. There's some parallels there, even though we're sailing around little 5.8 metre plywood boxes. But there you go, still a big day, so that's cool. We did hear also Dan got a bit crook the day of the start, and he's recovered now from that, so probably pick up. But one of the things I want to talk about first is this whole concept of sailing one design boats and how it works in the trade winds. And so I'm going to... I've got the ability now, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm just going to call up the tracker when I find my cursor here. Here we go. Right, so you're on the tracker now, and I get on my tracker here. I'll come back to the fleet shortly, but there's the fleet there, right? And I'm going to scale this back now just to give you the big picture of where the trades are and exactly what's happening. So here's the Canaries, there's Lanzarote, and here's the fleet moving down. And if we go right across to the other side, if I get rid of the teams, you can see where they're going. This is Antigua over here, the National Sailing Academy, about 3,000 miles from Lanzarote. And already, if we go back one more, you'll see how this works. Usually, historically, this is the Azores, and there will be a high pressure system sitting here, and somewhere, even though it's still in sort of winter, somewhere centering a little bit around here as it gets close to summer, it moves up a bit higher and it centers over the top of the Azores. And at the bottom of that high, that's where you get this wind direction coming around here, which is the northeasterly trades. And that's what pushes the boats across to... I see nothing. You see nothing?
No, tracker.
Okay, just stand by. It said solo on. Why didn't that take? Hang on a sec. Jeepers. Okay, that's on to me. Now we go to tracker. It should be on the tracker there now. Yeah, let's wait and see what happens here. Nope. We're not getting the tracker. And it should be there. Why not? Let's just see.
Add a new screen and
Sorry?
add a new screen and add a new share screen.
Tracker.
Yeah.
Share.
And then you need to put that back on the desktop.
Okay.
So
Show screen. That's that
yeah,
one there.
solo on.
Solo on. Let's see if we get that one.
Just wait.
This is a bit of a bore. Anyway, this is the last day we're in here.
Come up now.
It's come up?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure what's going on here. But anyway, we're back on track. It could be the low bandwidth
delete
here.
that one.
Yeah, I'm going to delete this before we get confused. We should still be... Oh, what happened?
Yeah, it's there.
Here it is. Okay. All right, I'll be glad to get out of here, but it may be the low bandwidth that's causing this. Anyway, I can see you've got the screen there now. Okay, so what we just zoomed this down just so that you can, I'll pull it back up a bit. Here's the fleet, there's Lanzarote. Here's the fleet coming down here. Here's Antigua right over the side, and that's something like the track that they've got. Here's the Cape Verdes down here that we talk about. Normally, the fleet comes down towards the Cape Verdes and then turns right and heads across the bottom, because this is where the trade winds normally hang out. And you can quite often have either heavy winds up here, like really strong winds, or virtually no wind on the other side. And it's picking that band to go across. It's usually pretty wide, and it's renowned as being the trade wind route. You know, it's where all the square riggers used to go. It's pretty simple. The reason the rowers are going down here as well is because you could literally sit in your boat. If you row and you work hard, a couple of people can get across in about 40 days. If you just sat in your boat and didn't row at all, you'd probably get across in 65 days or 70 days, just with the winds and the currents just pushing you if you've got a bit of what they call a blow boat. But anyway, so for a sailing boat, it's supposed to be pretty good. But every season, there's some slight differences, okay? And depending on the time, early in the season or late, we've just gone past the middle of what you call the trade wind season in winter. So we're not at the back end of it, but it can mean that the weather's normally a little bit more unstable, but the trade winds are stronger. So you can see here now, today, you've got a very wide expanse. In fact, the trade winds are going right over here. So it's very easy for the boats to come down, and they really don't even need to follow this course at the moment. And I'll walk the forecast forward for a week, and you'll see what happens. By the look of that, you could go from there and go straight across here like that, and simple geometry will show you that it's a lot shorter to go from there over to there than go down there and across there. So that's the decisions they'll have to make based on the weather they get. So I'm now going to push the weather forward, and you'll see, first of all, it's getting light, but still, I'll go through a full day. So this is tomorrow, there's 24 hours. It's a bit soft in here at the moment, okay? But where the boats are, great trades all the way across. That's probably about 150, 200 miles or more of trade winds. So they've got no problems there, okay? We come through to the next day, and here we go. So there's 24 hours, and you've still got good trades. In fact, they're coming to easterlies, but there's northeasterlies there. It's pretty gentle. So that's day 2. Then we keep coming to day 3, the 17th, and you can see they're strengthening because you've got these little tinges of yellow. I'm assuming you can see that. In fact, I'll just build this up because we don't need to see all the way across yet. So here it is. This is in the first few days. That's the 17th. Then we keep going, and you'll see it's still consistent and solid. There's the 18th, and it's got even wider. Check that out. So there's no issues there about getting off the trades. By the 18th, 14, 15, 16, 17, another 400 miles. They'll be down here somewhere, and the strength is increasing. But look at this. It's all the way across. So that's cool. And that's being driven by this high pressure system that's forming here. In fact, there's a few cells. There's a cell here, right? You can see that going around in a clockwise direction. There's another cell up here, and they're going to push together because of this low pressure system that's forming over here. So bear in mind the forecast may not be right, but because they're big systems, and we're just interested in the interaction down the bottom here through the trade winds, you can see it's highly likely that this forecast for the trade wind band is relatively, high probability of accuracy, right? So now that's the 19th. So 5 days from now, it's getting a bit soft over here, but it's still in 5 days, I'll be down here somewhere. This is changing a little bit, but it's still looking pretty positive. Oh, let's get a bit thin there. So now it's suggesting, let's just give so this is on the 20th. So that's 6 days from now. We can count on that being 600 miles. So I'll estimate where the position of the boat is. I'm going to use the ruler here. I hit that little black box. I put an icon there, and I'll put one down here. That's 420. So about 600 miles, they'll be down in this zone here. So they'll be right down here on the turn point. And if they've made that, now it's going to get a bit riskier, because if they're a bit slower and tried to cut the corner and got hooked up over here, it might not be such a good idea. But if they're doing their normal 100 miles a day or 120, which they should be, they'll be down here. So if you're fast and you've got what I call reasonable sized gonads, that's an Australian term, Australians know what I'm talking about, and you want to have a go, it would still be worth a try if you're being really competitive, but that'll be the choice they'll have to make. So getting rid of now that ruler, okay, then I've got to hit the wind again just to keep it going. So now we're going into the 21st, and if I come back to show you the big picture, all right, you've still got solid trades all the way across, and you'd be getting in this position here now. And in fact, they will mold together in one day. So, okay, so this is now coming up to the 22nd. You've still got, it's just massive area of trade winds here. So if they're quick enough, and they should be able to be consistent without any damage, because there's no real storms, it's just trade winds. The seas are building probably to 3 to 4 meters, but that's fast sailing with small head sails. You just boom out one head sail, drop the mainsail completely, and just keep going. If it drops off, you can put your A7 up, put up another twin head sail, keep the main off, and keep blasting down here. They may very well get across. And if we just keep this going, you can see now the trades are really starting to fill in. So by the time they get to the second week, there's going to be some solid trades. That's what they're forecasting. And this trade wind situation isn't like an area where you get pressure systems coming across that could change the whole outcome. Basically, the weather in the world, if you look at the equator down here, the pressure systems are always a lot higher, and they're always usually a high pressure system coming up there, which means it's always going around in a clockwise direction, which means at the bottom of these highs, it's the trade winds, and they're just particularly strong at this time of the year. So what you'll see after a week or so at sea, they'll all be saying, jeepers, it's windy, because this sort of colour here means it's 25 to 28 knots, gusting to 35 knots with 3.5 metre seas, and that will go on for week after week. So they're going to have a really fast ride, and they're going to get wet. There's going to be waves crashing the back of the boat, filling up the cockpit, things like that. But it's good sailing, and those that are settled in, they'll be not complaining about it, but you'll see they'll all be talking about, oh, jeepers, where's the pleasant trade winds, and, sitting in the cockpit having sundowners and things like that. They ain't going to get that, but they're going to get fast times. So it's still a possibility that someone that's really ultra competitive may take this sort of track and cut the corner and save a couple of extra days. All right. So now let's just take it back to see what they're doing today. And you're starting to see this influence of the boat speed. Now, the boat speed is a pretty simple formula. What happens is, I'll pull it back to today's weather. If there is wind to sail, it's pretty impossible not to get 100 miles a day with the 580. And if you're being sensible, it's going to be between 100 to 120 miles a day. I've been saying that for years. It worked out the last 2 editions of the race. As long as there's wind, each of the boats will be doing 100 to 120 miles a day. If they're not doing that, then they're probably having a holiday, maybe. So there's a few other factors in there. If they're really super competitive, they'll push hard, and you'll see 130, 140 mile days. The best we've seen so far, which was Michael in 21, he managed 153 miles in one day, which is, you've got to work hard for that, because all the boats are similar. The boats are heavy at the moment, but generally they're all doing pretty well. So you'll see the information box when it comes up now. They've dropped the last 24-hour mileage on here. It's on the leaderboard, but it's not on the boat situation. So starting at the back of the fleet, we got Jasmine in number 2. She's doing 4 knots. Got a nice breeze there, dead behind. She's settled in a lot. The sea has died down a little bit, but it's going to start picking up again. And most of them will have about 3 meters right now. There is a big ground swell there, so the sea stays about 3 meters, and they've got about 20, 25 knots now, 20, gusting 25. So, yeah, making 4 knots, that's all pretty cool. Then Popeye, doing 4 knots, at least he's moving, keeping up with everything, that's fine. And he's doing okay. We've got John there doing 5.2 knots, got a bit of speed on, but I don't know where he's going. I'm not sure why he's headed over in that direction. If he's getting forecast, you'll see he's got the wind over here, and he might as well just stay with the pack. But for whatever reason, he's taken off a little bit further to the east. So, but seems to be quite happy. Biggest Monkey been putting on the speed, 5.6 knots, so that's pretty good. And Bibby, Jacob, 5.1 knots, and Immortal Game, 5 knots, all doing pretty much the same. I'm happy to see Jacob up there. Just means he was holding back on the qualifier. And Immortal Game's feeling stronger and stronger, 5 knots, that's fine. They've all got the same conditions here, so you can see Biggest Monkey's maybe driving a bit harder. I don't know what he's got up, but there you go. And then you come to Arnaud. He's doing 5.3. So it's, not as fast in the last 4 hours as Biggest Monkey, but still holding on to a reasonable position there right now. Peter Punk doing 5.4, and Little B, I always say Little Bo, but anyway, Little B, 6 knots. Now, there's a bit of a thing going on here. I'll check in a minute to see if they're on VHF radio, but I think they probably are, talking to each other. But there's no doubt that Canada Dan is working hard, keep maintaining 6 knots. We'll check his daily run in a minute. And Origami, 6 knots, so they're having a real go. Peter Punk is right on their hammer, 5.4, so still, staying in touch. Little Wren's cut back a bit, but might have had a little bit less wind, because the further to the west at the moment, it was looking like a little less wind, 4.8 knots. Argo steering a strange course all over the place, but now on track, 4.9 knots, a little bit slower than the others. So that's sort of everyone. And when I tell you a bit all over the place, there's one thing that you'll see, long distance sailing, the least number of turns and squiggles like that you do on your course decisions, the further ahead you'll get. And that's explained. If that was a rope laying on the floor or a hose on the grass in the garden, and you pulled it this way, it would straighten up, boom, boom, and you'd get a little bit longer ahead. And you'll see the ones that are sailing, determined sailing, wanting to go fast, like look at Dan here, is dead straight. You try not to make any sudden changes. Origami's made a couple, and I think they're tactical decisions because he started to get light breeze here and altered course a little bit. But boy, in the GGR, you really notice the winners of the GGR in the last 2 editions have sailed straight lines. They adjust sails and hold the course rather than keep the boat comfortable and turn with the winds. So that's all looking good. And the forecast now for the next, I'll just come forward slowly, 24 hours. You can see it's getting a bit lighter there. So it's not increasing. And they've got a bit of respite until tomorrow, and then it'll start to fill in from the back. You can see it getting, by late tomorrow afternoon, it's getting stronger and stronger, and things picking up a bit. So they're entering in more of the trades. So we're going to go to the leaderboard now, because that's got some more of the statistics, which gives you a rundown. So Origami managed in the last 24 hours 117 miles. This is the first thing I always look at, just to see how they are relatively. So 117 for Origami, 133 for Little B. So Dan is really on the hammer, trying to keep up with Origami. 128 for Arnaud in Coupechinet. I got to get that right one day. And 122 for Peter Punk. And it's interesting that when you look at the rankings, normally that's a good indicator of who's at the front. But Origami slowed down a little bit in the previous 24 hours, but the others are all still pretty high, and they're all managing 100 anyway. So Biggest Monkey, Little Wren, Immortal Game, BB, they're all on 100 a day. Argo's 109. John on Little Delja, I've got to get that right as well, 110, 102. The only one that's slipping behind that 100 average is number 2, Jasmine, but she's she's settled in, keeping comfortable. She had that knockdown the other day, a lot of water in the cockpit, things like that. So just still settling in. And then you've got the rankings. You can see how they're stacked up, distance to the finish. This is where it starts to get a little bit relevant now for their ETAs, and they're quite high average speeds, but this is based on that average speed. So if we look at Little Ren, 4.7 knots, if he was to maintain 4.7 knots all the way back to or down to Antigua, the suggested ETA is the 6th of February, which is probably about right. And it's possible to do that sort of average, but I would say any of them that arrive on the 6th of February have done extremely well coming across, even though the Vendée Globe boats are doing like an average speed around the world of 17.5 knots. That's pretty impressive. So we work on 100 miles a day all the way around the world for most of the passage planning, except for Panama to Marquesas. That's a long one. Okay, so that's probably about enough to glean from that. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. We are going to, I'm going to see if you can pull me back here now. Boom, hit that and I should pop up. Yep, there I am. We're going to ask the entrants now in the next day or so, they'll get the message to send us some tweets of what's going on, which is easier for us then to give you a bit more information in a timely way as well. So that will probably transition. And we've got a manager's Zoom conference coming up. If the managers are watching, you'll get an email today, probably sometime on Friday. We'll be talking to all the managers about different subjects to help them prepare as well for the upcoming mini globe race in the future. I hope you read the second book from Graham Cox. It's amazing. We've never seen such a detailed summary of exactly what's going on in the race. This is more than just a daily update. It's like a real summary. So quite a read. And I know a lot of people, or some people will really enjoy that, being able to see the behind the scenes bits and pieces in a chronology in a very readable format. So thanks, Graham, for all the efforts you're doing there. He's gleaning all that information by researching everything that's going up online here. And he's also talking to the entrants, but he doesn't start talking to them until Monday next week. That's the first call in, and it'll get even more interesting from there. So thanks, Graham. I'll try and do some daily stuff as well, but I prefer in some ways doing a live tracker when I get the info. But it's still something that we're working on to see how they're going. Some of the entrants are updating with photos, which is kind of fun. So, and where we see them, we share them or get the news across somehow. So that's really it. I'm going to get out of here. Eli's coming over to do an interview, and I just realised I didn't tell him where we are. Okay, yeah, thanks for the black screen. We sorted that. Hi, Elizabeth, Christine. Okay, it's all happening. Got a black screen when Don went to the chart. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. So I think that's the only comments I've got there. Yeah, there's only a couple. All right, so we'll keep it all rolling, and we'll see you tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the press release. I love the video of the kite run for origami. If you haven't seen that, you better get into it. It was the back end of the live at the start. We chopped it as a special. It was very funny because we had Pete the builder in the back of the boat, and Etienne was there as well, who built number 2. And and the funny part about Kerry on the boat, he was completely focused. We were giving him a hard time zipping around with the boat. He didn't care. He was focused on going for it. And for a heavy 580, it was flying. It really looked good to see. So a few people enjoying that one. And there's a few other little snippets that we'll put out there. Oh, g'day, Eli. Hey, Eli's. Oh, sorry, mate. We took a bit longer to get this up than we did. As soon as I hang up, I'm going to give you a call. So see you shortly. All right, I think that's enough of that. So I'll get out of here, and thanks for following. Just remember, one final one. We got a big jump on people that were subscribing and liking the Transact Facebook page. So if you can, like, share, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, because it really does help us. We're still, most people aren't actually on there as following or liking the site. So, and share it around with your friends. See you later. Thanks a lot. Oh, I'm going to try and do a fancy sign off here. Let's see what happens. Oh, jeepers. Uh-oh. I'm going to go with this one. That's the wrong one. Oh, no, it's all gone. Oh, forget it. Pressing the wrong buttons here. I'll get out of here. Boom. See ya.